If your gain staging is wrong, your mix doesn't have a chance in hell. And believe me, I know, because before I was turning out mixes that sounded like this, or this, my mixes sounded like this. God, that's embarrassing. There was no rhyme or reason to my approach. I'd start EQing guitars and then get distracted by the way the drums sounded, and I'd start working on those, and I'd quit halfway through that to try and tweak the vocals. Essentially, I'd be chasing my tail for hours. Thanks, ADHD. Then I bought a book that changed everything. It was Template Mixing and Mastering by Billy Decker, who's one of the most successful mixing engineers in Nashville, Tennessee. He's mixed everything from country to metal, and his book shows you how to set up a mix template that you can apply to every mix that you work on. But this by itself didn't solve my problem. See, his book was so detailed that it explained every plugin you need for each instrument, and how high the fader should be on each one so that the song was balanced. I tried it, I learned a lot, but it wasn't fully clicking in my brain. Almost like there was too many guidelines and I wasn't sure which one I was and wasn't allowed to break. That is until I watched George Lever mix a song. I noticed that he was using a similar template, but he shared one key detail about gain staging that changed everything. And before I get to that, I just want to make something clear. A mix template isn't a cookie cutter. It's a guide, and lots of amazing mix engineers use them. Will Putney, Andrew Wade, Dave Otero. On the other hand, Josh Wilbur doesn't use one, and his mixes sound amazing. My point is, a template is something that can help everything make sense to you when tackling a mix, but it's not audio dogma. It helped me, maybe it'll help you. Now here's the key detail I learned from George Lever. He had target gain levels for every instrument group. He figured out that if he was within a specific decibel range for every instrument group in the song, his gain stager would be in good shape and result in a better mix. And his mixes are sick, so I tried it out. And I've been mixing like this ever since. Now through the years, I've refined and adapted my template, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. In this video, you'll learn how to set up a mix template for heavy music, the target levels for each instrument group, how to gain stage to maximize audio quality, and why you should try top-down mixing. So let's open up the door and I'll walk you through the whole thing. All right, let's start by setting up our template. I'm going to use a song that I engineered, produced, mixed, and mastered. It's actually already been released, and I'll leave a link in the description in case you want to check it out. All right, as you can see, I have a completely blank session, so the first thing we're going to do is import our files, along with our tempo information and our markers. All right, we got 21 tracks here, pretty straightforward song, and we're going to create our template from scratch. Now, if this is something that's interesting to you, I encourage you guys to create this template along with me as you watch the video. Now, I use Logic, so some of the features that you're going to see will be slightly different, but the same principles apply to any DAW. So let's set this up. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create buses for every instrument group. So Logic has this track stack feature. We're going to use summing stack, and that's going to create a bus that we could actually apply processing to, which is going to be really useful later. We're going to name this kick bus, and all my buses are colored like a school bus. Now I like to create regions for all my buses. It just makes automation easier later. So now we have the kick bus, and we can collapse that. Now we're going to highlight these two tracks, the snare top and snare bottom, and we're going to create the snare bus. We're going to highlight all of our toms, and we're going to create the tom bus. Now we're going to create the cymbal bus. And lastly, for the drums, we're going to create our room bus. All right, so now all of our drum buses are created. We got our kick here, we got our snare here, toms, cymbals, and rooms. So obviously next we're going to create buses for the rest of the instruments. Here's our bass bus. Our two rhythm guitars are going to get a bus. And lastly, all of our vocals are getting a bus. All right, all of our buses are now created. And one thing I'll say is this is a pretty basic song. If you have other elements, you'll create buses for additional things. Like if I had singing vocals, I would create a separate bus for my singing vocals than I would my screaming vocals. If I had a lead guitar or guitar solos, I would have a separate bus for the leads. If you have synths or effects in your song, I would create a separate bus for those things. Now that we've created these instrument buses, we're going to actually route all of them to 3 additional buses. All right, so I'm going to open up the mixer here. So all of these instruments here, I'm going to change from stereo out, and I'm going to create bus 33. We're calling this the instrument bus. We're going to take the vocal bus, and we're going to send that to bus 35. We're calling this the acapella bus. I like to create one more. This is going to be bus 36, and we're calling this the 2 bus. The reason why I don't send the other 3 buses just to the stereo out is because sometimes when you create a new track, it defaults to the stereo out, which means it's bypassing your compressor, your final limiter, and it could clip the song. It's a built-in failsafe. I know if my master limiter is clipping, there's something wrong with my routing. And you might be thinking, why do all this? Creating these buses are going to help with your gain staging. Every time a piece of audio passes through a plugin or a bus, it's going to change in volume. Hence, a new stage of gain. And there's a couple really important principles here. Number 1, the only channel that cannot clip is the master fader. If you're mixing digitally, there's literally infinite headroom. If my guitars are peaking at plus 4 dB, but they're not clipping the master fader, no harm. Now, we're not going to do that, but the point is the 2 bus will have digital clipping if it goes above 0. The second thing you need to understand about gain staging is that plugins usually have an ideal target volume for the input. Meaning, if your guitars are going 4 dB above 0, and then you try to put a compressor on that, it's probably hitting it too hard. And a little pro tip here, always read the manuals every time you buy a new plugin. Now, if you guys have any questions about this template, just leave them in the comments below. I read and respond to all of them. With that in mind, we're going to move on to the next step, which is fader balancing the song. Each instrument bus has a target level, and if you're within the ballpark of that, generally, you're going to have a well-balanced song. Now, once again, this is not law. This is a guide. But for today, we're going to stick with the targets. All right, first of all, let's see where the song's at right now with all faders at 0. All right, so as you can see, we're 2 dB over 0 on the stereo out, which is not good. So we got some work to do here. All right, I'm going to mute the bass, the guitars, and the vocals. Let's just work on the drums. All right, starting with the kick bus. The kick bus should be coming in between -9 and -6 dB. Let's see where we're at. All right, snare bus is actually the same exact level, -9 to -6. Now I'm going to highlight both the snare top and the snare bottom because I actually like the combination. I'm going to pull them down at the same time until they're hitting that target range at the bus level. All right, tom should be maximum -9 dB. Let's see where we're at here. All right, onto the cymbal bus. This should be peaking out between -18 and -15 on the snare hits. Let's see where we're at. All right, last on the drums is our rooms, and these should be peaking out between -21 and -19 dB. Let's see how we're doing. All right, on to our bass. Bass should be between -19 and -16. And our rhythm guitar should be between -10 and -7 dB. And real quick, I want to let you guys know I have a free gift for you down in the description. It's called the Axe Tracking Blueprint, which is my personal guide to getting high quality audio when you record guitar at home. If you're interested, go grab it. It's free. All right, before we touch the vocals, the next thing I'm going to do is engage my mastering chain. I mix top down, which means after I fader balance the song, I turn on my bus compressor, my mastering limiter, anything else that goes in my mastering chain. The reason I like to do this is I want to hear a clear picture of what the end product is going to kind of sound like. Make the big moves to the entire song, then go back and tweak the individual instruments as necessary. Again, this isn't the best way, it's just the best way for me. I've tried mixing from the ground up, it doesn't work for me. Just for the simple fact that I mixed the entire song, I got it sounding great, and then I turn on my mastering chain and everything sounds different, and I have to go back and undo or tweak all the things that I already did. So let me show you my mastering chain. On the instrument bus, you're going to put your favorite bus compressor. I like the SSL G-Comp, and for heavy music, I tend to shoot for 3 dB of gain reduction, a slow attack time, the fastest possible release, I usually keep it 2-to-1, sometimes 4-to-1, it depends on the song. And this low filter, I'm gonna dial up to about 60, 70 hertz. Compressors react to low frequencies a lot more than they do higher frequencies. And by ignoring the information below the level that I set it at, it's gonna keep like really fast double kick runs from ruining your song. So I'm gonna turn the song on and dial back the threshold until the needles move into about 3 dB of gain reduction. Now, the one target level we didn't talk about is your 2-bus. Sorry guys, when I was shooting the video, I totally forgot to do the acapella bus. You're aiming for -12 to -9 dB on that. Sorry about that. This should be peaking out no more than -3 dB. This is so that you have headroom for your final limiter. So let's turn the G-comp off and see if we're hitting that. Money. Now remember what we said about gain staging. Anything that's going in at a certain level should be coming out the other side at the same level. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dial the makeup gain to make sure that this is still peaking out no more than -3 dB. All right, we're good there. The next thing I'm gonna do is engage my 2-bus processing. So I use Ozone for my mastering chain, and I have a preset here. The first one handles the stereo image of the song, and it gives us a little bit of widening. Let's check out how that sounds. The next one is tape saturation to give us a little sizzle. And lastly, our final limiter. Careful, the volume might jump up here on you. And now you can start processing your instruments. As long as you stay in those target ranges, you should be in a good spot. Let me give you an example. Let's say I wanted to add a kick sample to this song. And I'll open up Trigger. All right, so I have my sample picked, and now let's listen to what it sounds like. But look what happened to our kick bus. Now it's -4.6 dB. That's out of our range. So you could pull the fader down at the bus level, or you could rebalance your sample. Now, if you guys want to see the next step, as in how I mix an entire song, watch this video next. It's a hardcore band that hired me to mix their DIY recording. Check it out. I'll see you there.